Welcome, friends. Let us together rebuild this world so that we may live, laugh, and lore.
I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
Not listening. I'm not listening.
Oh, that took.
Program loaded and ready.
Make it so.
Welcome to the Live, Laugh, Lore podcast. We're your host. I'm Tony.
And I'm Mark, and we're at episode 21, Tony.
21. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Oh,
it's been a good year.
Yeah, legal drinking age of a podcast.
Yeah.
Our podcast can officially enjoy the nectar of the gods.
Yeah.
You know? Mead of the gods.
Mead,
we make mead
mead.
right here. We got the mead balls right behind me. I should have said mead. But yeah, so today was once again kind of going back in the archives of when we were planning episodes. We were thinking about what we want to do, and we've done a lot of Lord of the Rings up to this point. Mm-hmm. But we focused on a lot of what ifs. We focused a lot about the movies. But like everybody knows, Tolkien has such an extensive world that he builds.
We're literally going into his archives.
And quite literally, when you say the archives, like this is like encyclopedia archives. Mm-hmm. I mean, he really thought things out. So much so that we are now dubbing this episode The Lost Stories, Lord of the Rings. So,
bum, bum, bum.
I was about to say, where's the soundboard, you know? But so the big thing on that, though, is when we say Lost Stories, it's more or less like kind of off the beaten path. I wouldn't necessarily like, it's not like we have some brand new knowledge that Tolkien himself didn't write, you know what I mean? We're really sticking in with this, but this is off the beaten path, meaning it's kind of getting covered by the Silmarillion.
Yes.
When we're talking, it's very like encyclopedic because in a very odd way, it's talking about all the precursors, right? Everything that has built up into Lord of the Rings, because what we're kind of seeing in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit effectively is the tip of the iceberg, which is like wild to think about. How can this box office billion, you know what I mean, movie set have more to it? And it's kind of like crazy how rich the history is. And so when I'm saying I'm taking stories off the beaten path, it's more or less saying that
it's the stuff that Stephen Colbert knows and that he tells people on his talk show.
Exactly.
He's going to get tagged, so listen to our podcast, Stephen Colbert, and have us on the show.
Exactly. Yeah. Good, Mark. There it is. It's the PR. You know, our PR team is, by the way, head of PR is Mark. You know, we've just promoted him, right?
I do what I can, you know.
Yeah. So there's some actually really famous quotes and parts of the movie that honestly they're so dense that they're like little snippets and side comments, what people say, and they actually have just such a rich history and so much meaning to them. So I think I've separated 3 of those out into 3 little threads. Mm-hmm. So Mark, are you excited to kind of start digging in deep with these threads?
I am. There's, like you said, there's a lot there. There's a lot of stuff in the Silmarillion that didn't make it into the Lord of the Rings, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't think you could, dude, honestly.
Right.
And by the way, I want to make it sure it's very clear, too. This is not a deep dive. This is just lost stories. Imagine right now, we're on a bonfire. We have drinks, we're being merry, we're just sharing these stories. So it's not me coming in, doing a really big deep dive and kind of lecturing and grilling down to these nitty-gritty things. The fun fact is like, it took me a really long time to do this research. But Mark literally came in, and I was still doing research as you were coming in to record. But the reason why behind that is because I had to extrapolate and kind of abstract it out because there is so much more. Mm-hmm. Each of these threads could be a deep dive, which is like wild.
Yeah.
So I want to also make it so that this is just going to be a fun, very light kind of, I'm going to do my own twists on this stuff. And because there's so many other YouTube videos and everything, like if you really want to dig deep down the lore, like you definitely can. We're just here having a good time. And I just really enjoy this stuff. And let's rock and roll it. I will
call
say
you J.R.R. Tony.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing, too, is that phonetics is not my friend in the English language, even less so in some other languages I don't know. So,
if I'm created by some dude.
Exactly. So, any mispronunciations or anything like that, I apologize, but I'll get it close enough where you guys can Google it, and there's some amazing stuff, so definitely Google it. The very last big point I want to talk about this is there's another inspiration. So, we went to New Zealand in April, and so we had another couple with us. It was Haley and Timon. Timon is actually a lot of the cornerstone of this inspiration. So
shout out to Timon.
Shout out to Timon. He was literally reading the Silmarillion on the flight over. And it's something that I've never personally went into, but after his talk, I actually wrote in the podcast notes. That's why I said we archived this one.
Yeah.
Meaning he was talking to me about this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I ever have a chance to like actually deep dive and start studying this, I would love to, bring it up and talk about it. Because we were in lines waiting for tour groups or whatever, and we were just sitting there, and we were just like, he was just spitting straight fire. And I was sitting there, I was like, holy crap. And so I'm just kind of making mental notes and, ooh, this is a unique phrase and that's a unique thing. So huge shout out to Timon. This is a really big inspiration, kind of where this idea came from. And a lot of this information is Timon. So I want to reference him as well, just in case. So, if he lawyers up and says, hey, this episode is actually me,
So our mailbox is going to blow up because he's going to just tell you stuff that you missed and forgot and
exactly.
messed up.
But hey, that's all content, baby. That's, we need interactions. We need to get this war machine going. So first thread that I want to talk about, history of the Dunedain. Very notable quote here is when Éowyn.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. I mix those up every time.
Yes.
I'm also going to say Aragorn.
Both women that love Aragorn.
Exactly.
Yes, but yeah,
I know I'm going to say Aragon a couple times. I really mean Aragorn. Just going to get that out of the way too. So Éowyn is there.
Princess of Rohan.
Princess of Rohan. She feeds Strider Aragorn the rabbit stew. And that's when he kind of lets it slip that he's pretty darn old in the scales of 80s. And she's like, surely you cannot be 80. It's 80 something. I can't remember off the top of my head. And she goes, oh, you must be one of the Dunedain. And that's where it's like, it was such a one-off thing. You know what I mean? Men of the West, the Dunedain, the Strider, you know what I mean? All these different things. And they're kind of all meaning the same thing, but there's such a rich history back there that I wanted to talk on it. So that quote kind of inspired this.
Well, that's great. But yeah, I saw this meme the other day on referencing that scene. And it was the Lego characters, but yeah, so she offers the soup.
Yep.
83 years old, and then in the background, Faramir's not in the scene, but they end up together. And in the background is Faramir saying, "Oh, this could be an opportunity for Faramir to show his merit," whatever his line is.
Yeah.
But then it goes back to Éowyn, and she goes, "But you like younger women, right?"
Oh,
right?
Really?
And Aragorn's like,
But the funny thing is, he is someone older than him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's an elf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun fact, don't look into the elven family history. It's all weird.
No, yeah.
So
Alabama of the Undying Lands.
So actually Aragorn's direct ancestor is Elrond's older brother, and Elrond's wife and Arwen's mother is the daughter of Galadriel.
What?
Yeah, don't think about it too much.
Yeah, okay, all right. That gene pool is a puddle. And there's some cycles in there, actually.
Yeah.
You can actually get a... Oh, my gosh, with that long of a life, you could get a cycle.
Yeah.
That's okay to think about. All right. Let's, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like, technically, at some point, you could, whatever. All right. So, so the Dunedain. So, let's first talk about, when you say the Dunedain, people say men of the West, or descendants of Numenor, Numenorians. And before we can even talk about Numenorians, the Dunedain, everything like that, we need to first talk about man.
Yes.
We're not talking about Adam and his descendants of Earth and Eden.
Yes, because it's Middle Earth.
This is Middle Earth. So the first of their kind were called the Edain. And these Edain were kind of composed of these three houses. And by the way, this is one of those things where each of these houses has a name. They have descendants. They have everything like that. But for all intents and purposes, the Edain, and they have three houses. It's very also important to talk about that these were the first race of men, first coalition, and they were very much in line with the light, so to speak. Meaning, when stuff started going south, darkness is coming in. This is Morgoth.
So this is the first age.
This is the first age. Yep. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I should very define. So, Lord of the Rings happens in the third age. The actions of the book happen in the third age. Elendil, which is the king, and they have the what is that called? The War of the Last. I'm going to think about it. The Last Alliance. Sorry, War of the Last Alliance, which is the first sequence where Sauron's there, and the ring gets cut off. That's technically the second age.
Yes.
So third age, Frodo and Sam and all their adventures. Second age, ring gets cut off, Sauron, all that stuff. But first age is what we're in right now. So the first stage is the men composed of three houses. And we have the first attack or big war, which is of Morgoth. There's a lot more on him, so bookmark that, triple star that, highlight that name, Morgoth. But there's a war. Darkness is coming in.
Yes.
The light must follow. Therefore, the Edain decide to side with the elves. All good. They were able to push back Morgoth. Morgoth has some followers with him and other people that he has corrupted, which includes Sauron.
Yes.
So after this, so Sauron's master is Morgoth.
Yes, he's like a lieutenant, and
he's a lieutenant,
higher rank than that. But yeah, he's a follower of.
Yeah. And so, with that being said, though, we still have the battle just happened. Everything's kind of cooling down, and years have passed. Now we're starting to get established. Sorry, I should also mention this too. Numenor is established at this point.
Yes.
There's the Numenorians, but of Numenor, that's the land, and there's a king. This is where Rings of Power. We're kind of getting.
This is literally Rings of Power. Is the fall of Morgoth and Sauron? Well, they think Sauron's dead.
Correct.
But this is him coming back, and the Numenorians are in their own island.
Yep.
Because after the fall of Morgoth, that was part of the deal that they got their own island in the sea.
Yep.
And they left Middle Earth. Right?
Exactly. Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Dead on the money. So, yeah, exactly that. So they're of Numenor, and Sauron comes in. Now, there's a king called Ar-Pharazôn of Numenor. Mm-hmm. And basically, men sided with the elves. The elves are dying. This king, in particular, is getting older. He's seeing the race of Numenor.
I'm loving it because this is exactly the plot of Rings of Power.
Yeah.
So I know what's coming, but go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So he sees the race of Numenor, and he's going, "Wow, well, we're of the light. We're helping you fight. Why aren't we given this undying light? Why are we stricken with the curse of dying? You know what I mean? If anything, we're helping you guys out. What's going on?" And Sauron's really playing into this. Sauron's going, "Oh, dude," you know what I mean? Like kind of Grimoire Worm tongue in, King Theoden. He's like, "Yo, dude, isn't that kind of lame? You can't die and stuff. Like, whoa, man." And so he's kind of really sticking this in his ear. And King Pharazôn, or Ar-Pharazôn, is going, "You're right. Here's what we'll do. We're a military force. We'll go over to Valar, which is kind of the lands of the West undying. I'll go more into that in just brief 1 second. A lot of this is phase 2, my thread 2, so I'm just kind of giving little tidbits.
For more context, Ar-Pharazôn is the king's nephew as well.
Yeah.
So he's not in the direct line to become the next king.
Okay.
As of now. But he is working right next to him and just like that.
Because when I looked him up, they always call him king. So that's what threw me off.
So he does.
Yeah.
So I can get into that. He kind of usurps the throne a little bit.
Okay. Seems like it.
But we'll get to that point in the story.
I'm really glad you're adding this in because, like I said, I extrapolated a lot of this. So I was just hitting kind of these big points. But, dude, if you want to go dig deeper, let me hear, baby.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know what I mean? No. Because, really the next part is that he gathers his force and he decides he wants to go seize the power from Valar and basically take over the lands of Undying. He goes, "We are the Numenorians. We deserve this power just as much as the elves. Let us do what we need to do." And virtually this led to their destruction. So do you have to add anything before I finish that?
So go to the Undying Lands. That hasn't happened yet in
Rings of Power.
Yeah, Rings of Power. That might be season 3. But up until that point, now I don't know how much of Rings of Power is true to the Lost Tales. But how it goes in there is that the king has a daughter, and she is ruling in his stead because he's sick.
Ar-Pharazôn?
No,
or the real king?
The real king is sick, so his daughter's ruling in his stead.
Okay.
And Ar-Pharazôn doesn't like her because she's true to the old ways, but he's not. And so he's trying to take over. And there's this old thing where if an eagle shows up at the coronation, then you're the rightful king.
Kind of like this or the white stag and the Book of Dragons.
Yes.
Yeah. House of the Dragon.
So the king dies, and his daughter is crowned queen, and Ar-Pharazôn comes in and basically says, "Nope, I am putting my stake for the throne." And an eagle shows up after he says that. So people think, "Oh, well, it happened right after he said that, so then he's the true king."
Yeah.
And then things go on. And then could
you imagine that eagle that morning running late, brushing his teeth, and he's like, "I gotta be there in 5 minutes."
So half of Numenor wants to follow Ar-Pharazôn, and half want to follow the
woman,
the queen to be.
ways.
I forget what her name is. And then they have another tradition. It's like this. There's a sea monster there that if someone is they charge her for treason against the throne, and
classic.
They throw her in, and basically if the sea monster eats you, you're guilty. If it shoots you out, you're innocent. And it shoots her out. And now Numenor is all right,
Wait, we have the eagle, and
now we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But that's the end of in Rings of Power. So
Oh,
season
okay.
3, that'll be really cool to see if he heads to the Undying, because he doesn't know what he's going to do now.
No, that's huge. And honestly, season 3, that makes me super excited for season 3 because this is bringing a lot of these things full circle. Mm-hmm. So I'm really glad because actually it's really important because I said it led to their destruction. How it gets destroyed is also very important.
Yeah.
Because it's the power of the sea. So basically,
Yes.
the Valar end up retaliating. There is a quote-unquote god of the world. That god of the world, his name is Eru Iluvatar. The only reason why I pause, I just can't remember how to say it.
Yeah.
Iluvatar. So Iluvatar. Let's just call him Iluvatar. Eru Iluvatar. So whole point is that he's the god of the Valar, or really the god of everything. Ainur is the... We'll get to that 1 second. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself. But basically, he is the god, and he's going through, and he's looking what man has just done, and he goes, okay, well, here's what's going to happen. You lost your privilege. Numenor will now die, and the way that it'll be destroyed is there's going to be huge waves and all the sea, and basically we're going to consume all your land. So that island, gone. You lost your privilege. It's also really important, though, that he is just. So some of them, of the Numenorians, remained faithful. Once again, they remained faithful to the elves. They remained faithful to the Valar. They remained faithful to the light. And they literally call them faithful, which is kind of cool. That's why I'm kind of using that
They
operating
use that in
term
the
really
show
true.
as well. Yeah.
And they were completely spared. But they don't have an island anymore. They don't have Numenor. What do you do? Where do you go? So, big boy Elendil, the king of men, and his 2 sons, Isildur and Anarion, they sail east to Middle-earth. And they establish 2 great kingdoms. One of Arnor, which is the north, and that's the true kingdom where Elendil is now sitting, and of Gondor. Gondor's where now ruled in the south, and it's in the south and ruled by Isildur and Anarion. All of a sudden, right when we reach Middle-earth, they are now called the Dunedain. So this is now the first official. So every single Dunedain is a Numenorian, but not every Numenorian is a Dunedain. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
So, okay,
So-
that's a very big distinction because when you hear Numenorian or you hear Dunedain, it gets people kind of tripped up. That's the big distinction. They are of Numenor, but the second they're in Middle-earth, they're the Dunedain.
So according to the show, like I said, I don't know for sure if it's part of the story or not. Elendil was not of royal blood. Of an ancient royal blood he is, but he's a general right now, and he's part of the faithful, kind of falling in love with the queen.
Oh, okay.
And then he hasn't become king yet, but I think that's how he becomes king. Is he marries the queen?
And what it sounds like too is it sounds like this whole Elendil line. It's less about nobility and rather they were faithful. They're
Correct.
spared.
Correct.
Who is the leading of this charge? Oh, Elendil was leading this charge.
Yep.
So that's where it seems like more. So rather blood, more of action, which is really kind of cool. Not many fantasy genres actually attack that point.
Yes.
Most of them are, or they're the house without banners or something. You know what I mean?
But it doesn't hurt to be married to the queen either.
Does not hurt. Just to legitimize everything.
Yeah,
it does not hurt to legitimize everything. Now we're back in the swing of things. So now we're in Middle-earth. This is going to seem kind of familiar, but just to get everybody, Elendil of Arnor, and then we have Gondor, which is ruled by his 2 sons, and Sauron comes back, and he's really gearing up and saying, no. I'm now the ultimate baddie. I want all of Middle-earth. You guys are really causing me a bunch of gripe. And, I've already manipulated you once. I kind of can see some cracks. Let me see what I can do. And he really starts attacking. So much so that now we have that's the War of the Last Alliance, what you see in Fellowship of the Ring. Mm-hmm. War of the Last Alliance, this is the mark of the Second Age, and this is really where the events play out. You know how they play out. Elendil dies, his son takes up, Isildur cuts off the ring, gets the ring, messes up. But what the movie shows you is the fact that he goes to Mount Doom, and Elrond's like, what are you doing? Throw the ring into the fire. What's going on?
Cast it into the fire.
And then shortly after, it's like, oh, by the way, when he was returning home, he was ambushed by orcs and everything like that. Turns out there was like months and months and months.
They do a lot in the movie. They do a lot of time skip because there was
Correct.
17 years between when Gandalf came back to the Shire.
Keep it safe.
Yeah. That's crazy. It seems like just a few
That's why
months,
Frodo
right?
kind of forgets about it when
Yeah.
he first tells him, like, it's been a long time.
17 years.
Yeah, because he's going to Gondor and reading over the parchments and everything like that.
Yes.
Which 7 years for a research project is pretty wild.
Which, because like in the books, Frodo's like 50-some years old. And so there's another meme at the Council of Elrond where it's like, this child. And he looks, child? I'm 50 years old, kid. You know?
Sit down. Yeah. So the whole point is, like, he's really deliberating what he needs to do. And this is where, when Gandalf is reading it, that's all of his parchments that he's, like, literally going in depth. And you can kind of see this corruption start happening, where that's where he starts talking about, like, this is an heirloom of my house. I will separate, like, this shall show nobility, right? We can take over and we can use this power. And then that's where he knows when you put into fire, does all this. So there's a bunch of deliberations that's happening.
So what happened? So Isildur's king right now.
Yep.
Did his brother die in the Battle of the Last Alliance?
Ooh, I don't know. I want to say yes, but I don't have him written down here.
Okay.
I might have lost track of him, because honestly, I'll be honest, I was like, oh, Isildur, ring,
Yes.
great, and the next
And
one.
then what about his dad's kingdom? Is that destroyed? Is it just
Okay.
one? Oh, we're going to get into
more
that.
into that.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Because that's actually a great point. That's a really big deal. So we're back in Gondor now still, and Arnor's still alive and well. I'm not quite sure who the ruling parties are or not.
Okay.
And I didn't really look at, because I was just
Could be
first
the other
shocked.
brother.
Yeah, it could be. I was just shocked the fact that Isildur, like, he had the ring for more than a day. You know what I mean? I kind of assumed it was pretty quick.
Yeah, like he's going back to Gondor and he gets killed on the way.
And the orcs, just
that's
kill
what
him.
it seems like, yeah.
The ring gets lost. So orcs attack him. He loses it. That river's called Anduin. Never knew that. Kind of sounds like Alduin from Skyrim, so that's why I was kind of looking at it and going, oh, that's kind of funny. I don't know if that was an intention. I mean, all fantasy names kind of sound similar. They all branch off the same thing. I thought that was a little bit cool. But the whole point is that basically the rulership in the kingdoms, especially after the ring is lost, a lot of chaos is happening. The men start getting fractured. They keep getting attacked little by little by the enemies that be, the darkness.
Yeah.
Because they're like, hey, Sauron died and the ring's lost. So I don't know what's going on. They're just
No one's
trying...
in charge anymore.
Exactly. No one's in charge, but yet we're getting kind of attacked little by little, getting chipped and conquered. What's going on? And so basically Arnor gets to a point where it starts splitting into 3 separate realms. So it's no longer a kingdom anymore. They're called realms. And the Arthedain, the Cardiolon, and the Rudar. Rudaru. That sounds right. Rudaru.
Rudar, the red-nosed Dunedain?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we're a couple months early. But what ends up happening is they're trying to put a face to the darkness. And they're like, what's going on? Turns out they're getting attacked by the land of Agmar. The Witch King, baby.
Boom, boom, boom.
Witch King is still alive and well. So he is attacking those 3 realms.
He's like,
Okay. He's acting. Like, at this point, because they're still searching for the ring, but naturally chaos and everything, like, they're still very, very much embroiled into the dark disease to take over.
Were the 9 involved in the Battle of the Last Alliance? They must have been, right?
Yeah. Whether they had more power after Sauron was defeated, I'm not quite sure. You think it'd be less, but at the same time, too, Sauron, I don't know how the power balancing works. The whole point is that slowly but surely, each of these realms start really falling into darkness, with the exception of Arthedain. Arthedain was the very last one. And basically, there was this final king, Arvidui. There it is, Arvidui. There's always that extra vowel in there. But Arvidui, and virtually, this is like the last line of defense. The darkness is overwhelming them. He's on some desolate, icy plain, and he dies. And his son, Aranarth, it's funny because I keep replying the name, so people are going to think I'm like cutting it in, but I'm just saying it for my own. But Aranarth basically comes in and goes, he's looking at this and going, okay, we need to change something.
Yeah.
We're trying to establish a realm. We're trying to establish a kingdom. We keep getting attacked. I just watched my father die, and my siblings are, everything's going bad. Here's what's going to happen. I'm not calling myself king. I'm officially, quote unquote, breaking the line of kings. So this is when they talk about breaking the line of kings. It actually happens with Aranoth.
So this is Aragorn's great-great-great-granddaddy.
Yep. Go all the way up. So Aranoth says, nope, I'm breaking the line of kings. And instead he goes, okay, I am now a chieftain. He uses the term chieftain. And now they're becoming nomadic people.
Yes.
So they're going,
the Rangers.
Yes, we are no longer associated with a land. We are now the Rangers. Rangers of the West.
And this is when the steward comes in.
Exactly. So, Gondor, still alive and well, should be ruled by the king, but he's thrown it away, and he's going, no, don't want this. Steward comes in. Right. Because now, you know what I mean? We need someone to rule the race of men.
Yeah.
And basically these people take it because they're still of the blood of the Numenorians, the Dunedain. They're living for a really long time, but they still have this innate sense of protection. We have to keep the line of men protected.
Yeah.
So that's why the Rangers are like kind of almost feared in a way, because they're like willing to do whatever it takes to protect the realm of men. Mm-hmm. And they're very mysterious. They're nomadic. You don't know where they're going to be. You really don't know their intentions. And it just kind of freaks everybody out. But that's the Rangers. Mm-hmm. That's where we start getting the Rangers. And so we have the Rangers of the North. Oh, I said of the West, sorry. West was when they were of Numenor.
Correct.
No, sorry. They're back in, but now they're
Flame
of the North.
of the West.
Exactly. Anduril. That's also very important, too. They keep the shards of Narsil alive and well. So they're like protecting all these artifacts. Aragorn's ring, the shards of Narsil, everything.
Yes.
The Dunedain, the Rangers of the North are maintaining this.
It was really cool that the season finale of season 2 for Rings of Power, Elendil gets the sword, and it was just a really surreal moment because he just like pulls it out. It was really cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Before it was broken, the white flame. That's what Narsil means. And then when it's reforged, it's the flame of the West, right?
Oh, yeah. They're what they call the persistent guardians of the North and everything like that, and just making sure that the Lost Kingdom's still safe. Even though they're in ruins, they're protecting them. So very important. Mm-hmm. And, that's kind of where we get Aragorn starts being born. They were protecting the line, and they knew how dangerous it was that would be of the king, of Isildur's blood. So that's why the whole elves kind of happening, and the mother was kind of fearing for his life, and, he kind of went out, and then he's like, hey, I don't want to be the king, but I want to serve my people. Let me go to the Rangers, and where he gains the name Strider, and then everything else falls into play. So that was thread 1. Mark, how do you feel about thread 1? This all came from one quote from when they're just talking about it. They're like, you're one of the Dunedain. It's like, they didn't really talk about it.
It makes me excited for Rings of Power Season 3. It really does. And I'm going to plug it a little bit. I know it gets a lot of hate. When Ben was on, he also enjoyed it. Gets a lot of hate for no reason. I mean, it's not...
I think it was slow burn in season 1, and then I think everybody just...
And it's not the movies, right?
Yeah.
It's not the movies. And it sets a lot of things up, and it's definitely worth a watch. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to give everything away, but season 2 was heavily focused on the creation of the rings for the dwarves and the rings for the men.
Yeah.
And what went into it was Sauron manipulating Celebrimbor and watching the dwarves fall. Mm-hmm. And how he... Oh, man, just what they did differently with the Rings of the Nine.
Yep.
To make sure that they would bend to Sauron's will. I'm not gonna reveal it, but it's really cool.
I was about to say, if you do a reveal, I'll come over to this table, Mark.
Yeah.
No.
So that's what makes me excited there. I'm interested though where Rohan comes into play. If that was one of the kingdoms that it developed from.
Yep. I'm not quite sure. I need to kind of look back at where that all kind of happened, because by the time the Third Age is happening, it's very obvious that we have Gondor and we have Rohan. So somehow the Edain, the race of men, have just turned into 2.
Yep.
Not quite sure how. There's probably a lot more to it. And the funny thing is that we can do Lost Stories Part 2, baby. That's, you know what I mean? That's one of those things where it's like, what happened here? So I'm kind of doing 3 big major threads. But once again, these are all braid, baby. You know, they really bleed into each other, because my next thread, which we talked about, the god of the Valar. Mm-hmm. And you also, at the time, might ask yourself, what the heck are even the Valar? They kind of talk about it. Well, they don't really talk about it, but there's so much more behind that. And now we're kind of getting to the pantheons of gods. But quickly, before we do that, I do have to give it. So a lot of my information is coming from Lord of the Rings Wiki. One wiki to rule them all.
Yes.
And Lord of the Rings Wiki. I think that's what they call it, but the one wiki to rule them all, I think, is the official term. I don't really know. Because, you know how, like, we're Wikipedia for Star Wars?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. But a lot of what prompted this was actually a YouTube video I watched, and I was like, that was really cool. And that kind of got the juices flowing to then go to the Wikipedia, but it was Echoes of Arda. Arda is really important. I really like this person. They did such a fantastic job. They are a YouTube channel that's like kind of getting started up with Lord of the Rings lore. And I'm like, oh, dude, this would be sick. So, commented, reached out to him. It would be kind of cool. I'm just curious to see what's going on. I really enjoyed this video. So if you guys can, give him some love. Go and watch his video. Super pumped. But then come right back here and finish up this video, baby. This is, that's all good, Trying to share the love. So, Pantheon.
Yes.
Pantheon of a God, that's kind of a D&D thing. It's also more, I think it's just fantasy in general. Pantheon's related to, like, groupings of gods or the belief system of whatever it may be. And so a lot of this was, once again, inspired by Nerd of the Rings. He has a lot of videos that I just kind of watch and go, okay, what's this general kind of feel?
Yep.
Then once I get some of the high points, I then go to the Wikipedia and just go ham. So we have Eru Iluvatar, who is basically the god. Imagine him. He's the god of creation. There's just this void, and it's him. And he creates the Aenar. The Aenar are a subset of people, or sorry, not people, but subset of powers that are just lesser than him. So,
Angels, would you consider them kind of like angels?
Yeah, kind of, almost. Well, it kind of gets weird. So there's a distinction. So of the Aenar, there's two separations. There's the Valar, and then there's the Maiar. The Valar are like no joke. Like imagine them as like his kids. The Maiar are more or less like spirits, demigods, lesser of the Valar. So Iluvatar is top dog. Then you have the Valar, which are more powerful beings. There's like 15 of them. And then there's the Maiar, which is kind of like uncountless, or there's countless of them. And they're just kind of powers that, help moving along. So, very important. Of all the kids, I say kids, but of all the creation of the Valar, they're very powerful being. There's one who is the most powerful. Now, there's a lot of symbolism here, right? That's
like
why
Lucifer, kind of the...
that's why a lot of people are kind of, when they kind of reject there's parallelisms, it's like, dude, have you heard of this explanation? And then you can kind of get it. But there's one really powerful person. Yeah. And of that powerful person, his name is Melkor. And virtually what's happening is they're in the void, and they're kind of discussing but a lot of people who are true Tolkien fans will probably cringe at me trying to
pronounce these,
colloquialize this, but also just kind of say it my way. But at the same time, too, you guys aren't here for lecture; you're here for fun. Yeah. So I'm calling this Melkor's beef. This is where I'm gonna start deviating. The Duty Dine I had to kind of be a little bit more factual, but the God stuff, I'm going full Tony here.
Okay, do it.
Melkor beef, not happy. He's the most powerful of the Valar. Basically, what's happening is they're trying to create the world. They're trying to create beings. They're trying to just life and creation as we know it. And he's getting really frustrated because he's kind of chomping at the bit going, whoa, why haven't we done this yet? I have so many ideas for this. You're not listening to me. What's going on? Kind of like the classic, like the class factotum is going against the teacher a little bit when they feel, you know what I mean? It's like they're really high achieving, but, sometimes in that type A personality, something goes wrong and they're kind of now against their superiors. And so basically this is what's kind of happening. And it's really important to note that of these powers that these Valar have, they do not have the power, though, to truly create life. That only comes from Iluvatar. Yep. And it's specifically called the Flame Imperishable, also known as the Secret Fire. This is important. Uh-oh. So, yeah. Mark, your eyes went wide just as mine did when I first saw this. Quick side story. So, at the bridge of Khazad-dûm.
Flame of Udun,
exactly. I'm going to say this word for word. Gandalf says, in front of the Balrog.
This Gandalf right here.
Mark pointed to my statue. Thank you. I got the statue out for this one, too.
Gandalf the Grey, not
the white. I am the servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Aenor. The dark fire will not avail you, flame of Udun. Go back to the shadow. You shall not pass. And he strikes his staff down, and all this cool stuff happens. And,
explosion.
I messed with my favorite part. I love the dark fire will not avail you, flame of Udun. Yeah, I love when he says that stuff. But so the whole point is, all this stuff is parallels to what exactly we're talking about. So I'm serving the secret fire. He's saying, dude, flame imperishable, Iluvatar, he's my boy. Yep. I'm serving him. He's big dog here. Also, wielder of the flame of Aenor. Aenor is the Cinderin name of the sun, which refers to just the powers of Iluvatar. Basically saying he created the sun, he did all this other stuff. So once again, he's saying, I'm a servant and I'm wielding this dude's power.
Yeah.
Then he spins it back on the Balrog, saying Udun, which is the name of Morgoth's, which we'll get to in just one quick second, but Morgoth, the baddie, right?
Original baddie.
Original baddie, Sauron's master and everything. He's saying, okay, well, your power comes from this really ancient fortress, but it comes of Morgoth. Mm-hmm. So I have the power of the sun, which is the Iluvatar's light. You come from the power, which is the darkness of Udun. Really old, barren, forgotten fortress. After saying all this stuff, because in translation, already that's a super cool thing. And I love how true Peter Jackson stayed to the story and the quotes here. But basically the translation is, yo, we both came to this knife fight with guns, right? But last time we went at it, the boys and I absolutely destroyed you.
Yeah.
So, like, keep giving me some attitude. You're about to catch these hands. Literally, word for word, that is, if I had to explain that to someone on the street,
yeah,
in less lore terms, that's exactly what's happening. Because he's going like, hey, I wield all this power. We wield, last time we went toe-to-toe, dude, our boys kicked your butt. You're like,
yeah.
Step off kind of deal. Step off! Yeah. So it was just a really cool thing. So the secret flame, sorry, now let's go back. We have the flame imperishable, the secret flame. Mm-hmm. This is the knowledge of creation, or the ability to creation. And so he starts going, I got to kind of search for this. So now Melkor's kind of doing the first seeds of discontent. He's going, ooh, well, if he has this power, it's got to be somewhere. And he's like searching all in the void. And already this is kind of getting the other people going, whoa, what are you doing, man? Like,
yeah,
why are you doing this? And he starts being able to understand and saying that, oh, no, this power is innately within Iluvatar. I cannot touch it. But I have the ability to twist that creation. Kind of notes it and goes, okay, I'm a master manipulator. Let's calm down. Let's see what happens. We now get to Hamilton level diss track, right? So literally imagine the cabinet battle.
Yes, that's my favorite part of the
whole
musical.
Honestly, Lin-Manuel Miranda, you just got tagged. I'm telling you a $1 billion idea. I'm telling you a multi-million-dollar idea. If you made a Hamilton, like a quick YouTube video, but if you made a Hamilton diss track, a Hamilton-like diss track about what's about to happen would be so great. Because basically the universe, much like with all things in Tolkien, has a song component. Uru, or Iluvatar, starts singing a song, and all the other Valar join in. And it's supposed to be one cohesive chord. It's supposed to do all these things. It's then creating the life. But our boy Melkor knows he can manipulate it. So he starts singing.
The harmony.
Yeah. The counter harmony almost. So he's sowing discourse into the notes. And basically everyone's seeing this. And it's kind of getting weird because Iluvatar is still singing his notes. Half the people are still singing the other notes, but the other half are going, whoa, dude.
What's going on?
Like, you're flat. Come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, and so they just stopped singing altogether. And so they tried again. They try to sing the same note. They do a second time. They're doing a full whatever. Mm-hmm. And again, Melkor is rocking and rolling on that, wrong note. And once again, even more people drop out this time. So much so that it's starting to look like Melkor might actually pull this off. He is taking over the melody. He's the one that's now going to utilize the strength or the power of creation from this flame imperishable to then add his own thoughts and ideas to creation at the start.
Oh.
Iluvatar, this is where the diss track comes in, is like, dude.
Chill.
Yeah. Like, it's like one of those things where I'm only using 10% of my strength, the Scooby-Doo Shaggy memes. Because literally he comes out and he's basically like, sings even harder and basically blows Melkor out of the water. So much so that he comes out and just like absolutely rebukes him. Like kind of like, that's cute that you even tried that.
Yeah.
See ya. Like he doesn't even punish him or anything.
They're fighting with their voices, Tony.
Yeah. And he's literally like, deuce out. You know what I mean? Like whatever, this happens. And so Melkor looks at this and goes, I'm clearly not powerful. I won out of this situation, but I can't do anything about it because I just got freaking owned by your boy. Yeah, I can't do anything with this. So he just kind of settles back and kind of mobs away. He goes, okay, I realize I can't do this, everything like that. But now we have creation. And this creation creates a world. And that world is Arda. Earth, Arda, same. Imagine that, like, you know what I mean? Just planet Arda. All of a sudden, as more and more creation starts happening and Arda's there, the Valar are still in the void. They're not on the world yet. And that's when some of the Valar, they're like, hey, we have some ideas. We can bolster your light and how you want to create this world with our own efforts. Instead of being in the void where we can't do anything, send us down to Arda. We'll help you out. And that's where our boy Melkor
gets his idea.
Knock, knock, knock. He goes, this is great. I know in the song I've already sown discourse. What do you think I can do when I get down there, baby? So he goes up to Iluvatar and is like, send me. I'm your most, because he is, by the way, he is the most powerful. That is without a doubt. He is the most powerful. He goes, send me. I know we've had problems in the past, but I really feel like I understand what you're going, and I was being too forceful, too impatient. But now that I've seen your creation, you clearly are the better of me. Just send me down there.
It's some like Sith. You know, the apprentice is trying to outwit the master.
Exactly. But it's just a master manipulation. Yeah. I mean, and then you can see where Sauron gets it, and you can see where Saruman almost gets it too. It's just this manipulator, right? It's just, they understand how to kind of hit those chords perfectly. And literally, what does he do? He's just like, all right, go down, go help out.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, as you can probably guess, he automatically just starts really wreaking havoc. And so much so that they decide to name him something else. You're not exalted. You're exiled from the Valar. We're now calling you Morgoth. Boom. So whenever there's Melkor, Morgoth, same. In the Valar, while in the Void, it's Melkor. But on Arda, inside of, not exactly Middle Earth, but inside of that area, it's Morgoth. Also, that's very important too, because that gets really confusing. And just to go a little bit more into it, the Valar, there are 14 powerful beings, technically 15, but you lost one. But 14 powerful beings, and they're just trying to help out Iluvatar with his earthly creation. It's Arda, but you know what I mean. Ardali, whatever.
Yeah,
earthly to Ardali, I don't know if that works, but so the whole point is that they're just trying to ensure that Earth's creation and all the power is maintained and going to the fullest potential of what Iluvatar truly saw. So what they decide to do is they make their own land, the Valinor. Valinor, or Lands of an Undying. There we are. Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah.
So that's where we have the Western Lands. That's the Lands of Undying. That's where all the Valar are currently residing. And it's very important because they made two trees. These two trees are almost beacons.
Yes.
I saying beacons, but there's this accentuation of life. All light comes from them. And of the true trees of the Valinor, there's Lularian sounds a little bit better, and Telperion. Lularian and Telperion. That sounds right. Yeah, we're good enough.
Yeah.
But so the whole point is that it's so much powerful, and there's some craziness that goes on with those trees. But before we talk about that, these trees have so much power in them that even their fruits, for example, the Luarlan, that sounds better, Luarlan, that fruit bore the sun. And the fruit from the Telperion was the moon. So,
wow.
Just to give you
very connected,
essence,
very connected.
Very connected, very powerful, all light. Okay. Last one that we need to talk about, and then we'll kind of wrap up the Pantheon, which is the Maiar. So, Maiar are a little bit different. Remember, we had the Aenar. Aenar was the Valar, which is the higher beings, and then I don't want to say lower beings, but a little bit lesser is the Maiar. The Maiar are just spirits that kind of help shape the world. They don't have as much power as Valar, but they still have some power, and they're able to kind of go in and still execute Iluvatar's wants, desires, everything.
His will.
Yep, exactly. And they're countless, by the way. I said 14 Valar, but the Maiar, who knows how many?
Yeah.
Some of the Maiar came down in bodies, emboldening wizards.
Yes. The Astari.
And they're known as the Astari, exactly. Boom. Yeah. The Astari are the Maiar that encompass the wizards. So you have the white, the gray, the brown, and then blue wizards. All are Maiar that are labeled as a starry because there's specific Maiar that come down. So now that's the whole point. Like half of what makes the Silmarillion really difficult to read is they use all these terms. And hopefully I'm doing a good job of explaining this and trying to show the differences. Because when they talk about Gandalf, like if you Google Gandalf, like technically, yes, he is indeed a Maiar. And yes, he's an Ainar technically. Because Ainar are just a collaboration, you know what I mean? So there's like these ontology of how they all fit into this class, if so to speak. So that's the Pantheon. That encompasses everything that we're looking at. And oh, by the way, there's so much, Mark.
There's so much more.
Oh my gosh.
Because I know the wizards, they have like official Maiar names. Like
Correct.
Gandalf's not his name in the Valar.
No. Yeah. His Astari name. You know what I mean? I don't know if you want to consider that Gandalf or, you know what I mean? But then they call him different because in Rivendell, they call him something, you know what I mean? He has all these different nicknames. So once again, it's wild to see that one. But that's what makes Tolkien feel so lived in.
Yes.
Like everyone's got nicknames, you know what I mean? I've probably been called 20 nicknames, hopefully good names, but you know what I mean? 20 nicknames in my life, plus. So it's super important to kind of get some of those out. But that is the whole encompassing of the Pantheon. And of my final thread, which honestly, Mark, makes it into a perfect braid, or what I think is a perfect braid. Do you have any questions though before we go?
Yes, you may. If you're gonna talk about it, then disregard it. But is Sauron one of these creatures?
I will talk about that one quick second.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, great question. Melkor is going up against some tough foes. He's got the 14 Valar that are on Arda right now, ready to absolutely catch hands. At a very minimum, he will catch a stray just because they're like actively creating things.
So is Arda pretty much just Middle Earth, or is it
more? It's everything. Okay. Whole planet. Arda is the planet.
And Middle Earth
continent's all.
It's just like a continent on Arda.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. It's exactly. So imagine the Valinor. That is the western part. That's like a continent. Then you have the Middle Earth, which is like more east. And, there's actually a really big map that shows the trees and everything. But, oh my gosh, Mark, once again, if we talk about that, it goes wild. But it's really important to start figuring out, though, that Melkor is wildly outnumbered. But don't forget, he figures out how to do discourse. He figures out how to manipulate. He knows that he can twist the creation of Iluvatar. So, he starts gathering some foes. He starts gathering some allies.
Yes, very different.
One very important one is Ungoliant. Jeez, I heard this name 50 times. That's the only reason why I have to have YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Is because I had to hear the Ungoliant. Jeez, Ungoliant. So, Queen of the Spiders of the First Age is another nickname for her.
Oh, she's Shelob's mother?
Yep. I was getting to that big reveal, but yes, exactly. I'm so glad you caught that. She is Shelob's mother.
The only reason I know that is because that was the scene. That was the interview I saw with Stephen Colbert.
Oh, really?
Is they talk about that.
Ungoliant?
Yes.
Oh, dang. Okay.
He had Don Monahan and Billy Boyd, who play Merry and Pippin. Mm-hmm. And Merry and Pippin talked about their character stuff post Lord of the Rings. How they kind of like. Very important.
That's where they talk about how they're buried with Aragorn. And
yes.
They made the joke, hey, we should be buried with you.
And they're like, so Stephen Colbert was like, oh, yeah, I know all this. So they're like, all right, well, let's give you a quiz on some of these lost stories. And they're like, what is Shelob's mother's name? And then he goes, Ungoliant. Yeah.
No way. Okay, so great. I mean, so the good news is the build-up's still good.
Yeah, so sorry.
No, that's perfect. No, Mark, I love it. You're following. That's what matters. You know what I mean? And the Queen of the Spiders really kind of done it off. I was kind of like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't say that. You know what I mean? I should have said Ungoliant and see how far I could get
Just
to.
imagine the babies between Ungoliant and Aragog, if they could.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. And the crazy thing is, like, Shelob was technically the last kid. So.
Wow, yeah.
There's so much more. You know what I mean? So, but the whole.
Spiders do have a lot.
Oh, yeah. Like their clutcher. I don't know the actual term of the spider, collection of spider eggs. So the whole point is that her origin is complete mystery. So if she was a Maiar, if she's not, there's speculations of she might be one of the Maiar. Not quite sure. Like literally, it's not defined in the books. So once again, like this is just speculation. A spider? So she takes on the vision. What is that? The vestige.
The bodily form.
Yeah.
So like.
I tried to do a SAT word. I don't know why, but
So the Maiar come down. They choose to take a humanoid form.
Correct.
She came down and took a spider form, arachnid form.
Speculated. This is all speculation.
Yeah. Okay.
In the court of law, we cannot say either way.
Yeah.
Because we don't know. That's why I kind of like her too. Is like her origin story is a complete mystery. We don't know. So people are speculating it. There's rumors amongst the dark edges of Reddit.
Yes.
I shouldn't say dark because this is following Morgoth and Melkor, but not dark as it's whatever.
The dark web.
The dark web. Yeah. So on the dark side of Reddit, they're saying that no, she is one of the Maiar. She takes the form of a spider and everything that happens. So she is monstrous. Like, you think Shelob is huge, like, not even comparable. She came on, and she was basically chilling these mountains, wasn't doing too much, and Melkor starts kind of coming in and gathering his allies. She is one of them. And so he kind of comes to her and was like, hey, wouldn't you like to eat more? Because basically she's kind of like this absolute insatiable hunger, just carnivorous, eating everything. So much so she begins to eat light. It's a really big deal. Oh, I'll get there in one quick second. So
interesting. Okay.
Along with her, Sauron starts becoming one of these persons, and the Balrogs are becoming one of these persons. Oh, by the way, the Flame of Udun, that's just one of the Balrogs. There is many more.
Okay.
It's not just one. I thought it was only one Balrog.
I did too. In Khazad-dûm, no.
Total collection. Huge amount of Balrogs.
Man, so there's just like, is there a village of Balrogs, or is they're more like dragons that they're all kind of independent?
Yeah, so what it seems like is they all are one. Like, they're in one collective unit.
Yeah, okay.
Because, by the time they talk about the Balrogs, at least where I was researching here, this will come in a little bit, but they are able to help somebody, and they all come at once in one area. So it wasn't like it was multiple things. It was just one spot. They all came in to help. But, so really quick, so they go through, and he's kind of corrupting these people. And he's getting to a point where he was like, hey, you're really hard to control. You just want to eat everything around you. I need to kind of formulate some plans right now. How about you go and just go off to, you're more pain than worth. But as he's formulating this plan, she becomes so insatiable, she gets the light. So then all of a sudden she starts spinning webs of just pure darkness. And Melkor, who's keeping tabs, is going, okay, all right, Ungoliant, come over here. You know what I mean? We got some freaking work to do. Mm-hmm. And so he starts seeing this and starts kind of getting into this war of the jewels. So this is what they're naming the battle, or battle, so to speak.
Yeah.
But once again, this is, crazy stuff that's going on. And this is really early on in creation. There's all this stuff going on. And also, it's really important for years in Valar and Arda years. There's all this time dilation. And the funniest thing is Tolkien literally wrote all this. Like, he has the time dilation between all this. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to try to bog you down with ages and stuff like that. I just want to do high points of the war of the jewels. This is Melkor's way of going, I'm striking back at the Valar for what they've done to me, because they've basically put me into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes, all right, let's utilize this powers of yours where you consume the light and spin webs of darkness, and let's bump it up to 20. So much so that it's called the Unlight of Ungoliant. Jeez, I keep forgetting how to pronounce her name. So Unlight of Ungoliant, which basically is such a dark cloak that even the Valar's most perceptive eyes could not pierce it.
Wow.
Total darkness.
Made from the webs?
Made from the webs.
Wow, that's insane.
And this was really, really big because now Melkor has a way to strike a really heavy blow.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes, come with me. You're going to get a lot of good stuff. Just trust me.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get going. We're going to rock and roll this. So she starts spinning this web, the Unlight. And so as she's doing it and as they're progressing, they get all the way to the two trees. And by the way, there's a lot more to this. I'm just going high notes, so keep that in mind. But they go to the two trees we're talking about, the Valinor trees. Basically where all this light is coming from. Mm-hmm. And he was just like, you thought you were powerful before on Goliath. Here's what we're going to do. He stabs each of the trees, and she basically puts her pincers her mouth on it and basically consumes the light of the trees, enshrouding the whole land of Valinor into darkness, because she's literally sucking the light out of the trees. And at this point, she becomes unbelievably powerful. Already this wave of this unlight, this cloak and everything, it's like 20 billion times. It's crazy. Like,
Wow.
So she becomes huge. She becomes everything. And now Melkor is like, oh yeah, dude, we just, like score one for the boys back home.
Yeah,
like, let's get the heck out of here, right? Because literally we came in, we struck a huge blow to you. We took these trees, and what's on top of it more is he's taken all these jewels. So there's a bunch of jewels, there's lesser, there's all these other ones.
Hence the name.
Hence the names. But the big ones is there's 3. They're called Semrils. So these are like really crazy ones. We can talk all about it. Cimmerils. This is where, you know what I mean? Like, there's a connection point there.
Okay.
So, but the Cimmerils are these, like, of the purest light, most powerful gems, whole 9 yards. Most coveted item in all of Arda. And he just stole all of them and took both their trees. So he was like, we just dealt the blow of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Let's get the heck out of here. And so they hightail it out.
So they're fracked.
So yeah. So they hightail it out, and once again, the only reason why they're able to leave is this cloak of darkness, and they lost the light of the trees. So double whammy, they're going out. Mm-hmm. Melkor, Morgoth, because technically he's in middle, he's in the area, but Melkor, right? We're just not to confuse anybody. So Melkor at the time is now, they now come back to basically like their area or this new area, but it's like kind of more close to his land, and was basically like, hey, you did a really good job. I said I was going to pay you, and I absolutely will. Take all these other gems. Literally, take everything. Don't even want them. Like, here you go. Don't look behind my back, because I have the 3 Cimmerils. You know what I mean? Kind of. He's kind of like tricking her. He's kind of being like, no. You know what? You did such a good job. Take everything. Don't even worry about it. I'm going to keep these 3, though. You keep everything else. And she was like, dude, what? No, like, this is not what's going to happen. Like, we, you know what I mean? Like, I got to get something out of this. And basically, in his greed, he was like, I will not release even a single Cimmeril. I will not release a single gem. And at that point, he kind of expended, even though she was doing a lot, she just got bulked up, dude. Like, literally from the 2 trees' power. And he kind of exhausted himself by doing all the attacking, taking the jewels, and going back and fleeing. So he is kind of like, as the Valar, really low on his, power level, if so to speak. She, who is speculated, but not true, a Maiar, who knows?
Yeah.
But with the power of the light of the trees, is kicking his butt. Like, honestly kicking his butt. The only time Melkor is, like, close to death, even after all the Valar are attacking him, even after everything, that's just to show how much Ungoliant has the power. And is kicking his booty.
Shout out to my brother Paul. So this is kind of like my guy fighting.
How dare you?
The last gate fighting Madara Uchiha. All right.
The 800 gate. He's bending space. Yeah. So Madara. Well, he doesn't got the I had the in there, but Madara's like, he's bending time and space. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, but no, literally, like, is absolutely handing it to him. So much so that he's like, I'm actually going to die. Like, I'm legitimately afraid of you. I thought I had dominion over you. Like, I twisted you into this.
Yep.
But it's kind of like the monster of Frankenstein. I literally created something that, shout out to Mary Shelley.
Yeah.
I literally created something that will, inevitably be my demise. So in that moment of just pure despair, he screams out. That's when the Balrogs start coming.
Ooh, Balrogs.
Plural.
Yeah.
Balrogades? Yeah. What's the plural form of Balrog?
Yeah.
What's the root of Balrog? I don't know.
Yeah.
So is it Greek? Is it? I don't know. But I'm just joking around. But the whole point is that the Balrogs start coming and literally overwhelm Ungoliant, which is like insane to think about. Like, just because he's basically taken all of his power, all of his might, and all of his allies just to go against this one ally, which is already was helping him, but then double cross the whole 9 yards. So this is the War of the Jewels. And so they actually get to a point where now they're putting her on the defense. And she was kind of like, all right, I'm done. Let's call it a day. And she kind of flees out. And then, of course, there's more that happens. And she has more babies. And they become like the Mirkwoods, all this other stuff. And bleeds into it. But the big caveat is like, you look at Shelob and you're like, why is Shelob? So then you start looking at the Mirkwood spiders and in the Hobbits, and you're kind of like, whoa, is there a connection point? They're smaller. What's the point here? But yeah, all of it seems to stem from Ungoliant. So I thought that was a really cool tie-in, and it kind of shows more of Melkor and Morgoth, and you're talking about him in the Pantheon, and there's so much more, and there's a lot more power struggles, because honestly, what made the War of Jewels really hard to research is it's kind of like looking up the Civil War. It's like Civil War. It's like, well, no, the war wasn't won in a day. There's battles, skirmishes, points. I mean, there's so much, and Tolkien and his wisdom and ability and just absolute work ethic wrote all of them out. So, like, every single one of them has a small battle in between, and they get stuck, and this Valar, and that Valar, and this Valar, and there's, like, all these names. That's why so many people say, like, it's really tough to read the Silmarillion. It's because there's so many names, and they're all kind of called slightly different sometimes, so you have to take a step back. And also at the same time, too, his writing is so, not encyclopedic, that sounds like negative connotation, but it's so detailed that he's telling you every single one of these things, so it's almost like a report in and of itself, that it gets bogged down. So that's why I'm really abstracting this, but also when I say this, I legitimately want to read the Silmarillion.
Yeah. It's
like,
just,
maybe
it's dense, though.
Oh, it's so dense. Like, this
it's denser than The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, big time. Oh, it's like not even comparable. But I'm not going to lie, as I was researching this, I was having so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
So much fun.
You can go on
opens
so
up
many,
everything.
You can go. That's how I knew like the wizards had names, because you can go
the Starry,
You can go down into. There's so many rabbit holes.
I will say sometimes though, like, you have to kind of keep up on it, which is really impressive, because I wrote these notes. I was kind of doing it over like a week time. I just kind of trickling them in and everything like that. And that's another reason why I was a little bit late, because I went back to the front and I was like, the Adane. What are the Adane? Was that a place? Is that a person? Like, because the way I wrote that note in there, I just said the race of men / Adane, which that's on my end as a scribe. I should have added a little bit more words in there, but that's the point. Like, there's so much to this, and oh my gosh, Mark, it's so much fun. So, we might need to not calm down on Lord of the Rings, but you know what I mean? Like, might need to take a step back, but honestly, dude, it's so good. I thoroughly enjoyed this, so I would highly recommend at least these. Like, each of these were their own, like, 10-minute video. Even the 10-minute video is fantastic, so... Yeah. If you don't want to go the full Silmarillion route, there's so much more to it. So
I will say that it's a funny comparison between that Ungoliant, however you say her name.
Ungoliant. Yeah, it's an O in there.
She can eat light, but the light was the only thing that saved Sam and Frodo from Shelob. Like, it.
Oh yeah,
scared her,
parallel. Yeah,
scared her away. That was kind of interesting to see.
The light of the evening star.
And then when you're talking about the three Silmarils, I don't know anything about it. But they sound like, well, I guess I don't remember how many they are, but almost sound like the Palantirs.
So I don't know. That's a good question. Oh, I see what you're saying.
But I don't know if there's only 2 or 3. I don't know how many those are.
Dude, let's leave it for the other episode, baby.
Yeah,
you know
all
what
right.
I mean? Like, or we can just edit it in and say we knew it the whole time.
Yeah.
We've never done that at a podcast. That's never happened.
No.
We've known everything. No. But yeah, no. So those are the 3 braids. So do you feel like this was pretty concise in a way where it's kind of followable? Think we need to re-attack anything or maybe re-specialize anything? I feel like I try to keep it as high level, but enough in-depth to kind of give the cookie crumbs for someone to really chew on it. Because each of these names and each of these points, you could go down a 3-hour rabbit hole. And I highly encourage people to do it.
Yeah, no, that's good. And there's even more.
So much more.
There's so much more before Lord of the Rings and after Lord of the Rings. I mean, we talked about there's extended stuff about Merry and Pippin and Frodo and Sam and all that, and pretty much every character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all have their nice little ends.
Yeah. So if there's anything you're interested in, by all means go through. Or if there's anything that listeners want us to tackle, we'd be happy to do it.
Yeah, we're kind of like the first line of defense. That's another thing too. Yeah, if someone came in, they're like, "Hey, I really want to learn more about this," I'm like, "Oh." Yeah, I'll do the research. I'll do that. Don't even worry about it. So even if it's a little bit of interest, we're all over it. It'd be so much fun. And honestly, like, there's so much here. It's amazing. Like, even the movies are so much. But like, you could, no joke, like, we could make this a series every single time, and we would probably take a really long time to run out of stories. But of course, you can go really in depth in some of those in depth things. Like, you kind of hit bedrock a little bit, so you kind of have to be a little bit careful. But super fun. But no, that's a great suggestion though, Mark. Thank you for saying that, because we are the research team. We're the scholars, baby.
Oh yeah,
this is our fun. This is This is what we do. I just wish my real work was like this and I'd get this excited.
Yeah.
Not saying I don't like my job. I really do. But I'm just saying, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
My boss came by and was like, okay, so there's a guy named Malcor. And I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa. All right, boss man. I'll have that TPS report.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Which leads me into, this might be a perfect time to just announce it. In a couple episodes, we're going to be trying to do a mailbag episode.
Great. Yep.
So we really need suggestions and emails and messages from all of our listeners. Anything you want us to talk about, like if there's a new show coming out, really anything lore related, we'd be happy to give our thoughts on it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you had your own spiel ready for that, Tony.
So I did, but that was perfect tie-in, literally perfect tie-in. Yep. So no worries. And the cool thing is normally I say, hey, reach out on Instagram, X, everything like that. And that's very true. Still do it. Live, Laugh, Lore Pod, or email us at the livelaughlorepod@gmail.com. But also, I'll do either a post, a story, something along those lines. But we're going to actually set up a full, post about this where it's almost like a survey and you can take it. And so it just makes it easier on the users. And it can also be anonymous, so you don't have to post it. You know what I mean? Definitely want to make sure that's accessible and that's ready for you guys. Because, yeah, that mailbag would be so much fun. We've already had a couple submissions. Some personal messages over across different platforms, but it's super exciting that, we probably have a good 3 or 4 right now, and it's like, it just really excites me.
That'll be a fun episode. Your wife has something, but she wants to submit it anonymously, so we don't know it's from her.
Yeah. She does want to do it anonymously, so that'd be a lot of fun, and maybe what we can do is we can guess which one Jenna did. Yeah. But I guess I would know. Whatever, we don't have to. Yeah. Maybe I'll have you guess, because I'll compile them.
Yeah.
But so, with all that being said, though, I do want to take this time to not only ask for the suggestions, but also just really get down to it. I know, Mark, you're feeling the same way, but it's just such immense pride and appreciation of people taking their time out of their days to listen to this and offer suggestions and everything like that. So we totally appreciate it. There's no bad suggestion. All this is super fun for us, and it really, truly means a lot. So if anybody comes out of the woodwork and just says stuff too, I've had people I haven't talked to in almost 10 years reach out and be like, hey, listen and do this. And it's such an amazing thing. And Mark's having the same thing on his side as well. So it's such a great thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because we know we have our specialties, right? And we kind of, sometimes we get into that rut. But we'd love to explore, and if there's anything else, right, we know what we want to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
So, but if there's anything else lore-related, we can tap into books. We haven't done that. I know my brother Ben wanted us to, if we talk about any,
Stormlight Archives. We had
correct. I said we haven't yet, but we're more than happy to, right?
Yeah.
So, but we just need those suggestions.
Yeah, yeah. Because that'll give us enough time, too, to give us looks, too. So
exactly.
It also might be the case, too. So if you do a suggestion and it's not maybe answered in an immediate episode, we are on a little time dilation here, too.
Yeah.
Because technically this episode's getting recorded in, October, and this will get released in November. So just FYI, so, it might take a couple weeks for it to come through. But even if we have to do more, the fun effort of going through and researching this stuff, too. So no worries. We'll definitely make sure we direct it and we make sure we answer it, too. So no stone gets unturned. You know what I mean?
We are a podcast for the people.
The people, by the people.
We love learning about, and that's why we did this podcast. We like learning new lores, right?
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to tell us about it. Thanks again for listening, and please reach out to us for questions, mix-up ideas, what-if ideas, mailbag ideas, episode ideas, just anything. If you just want to tell us about your day, we're welcome. We're happy to hear about that, too.
Absolutely. And like I said, I think I already went through the ways to reach out, but love to have it. Totally appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.